Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. Roadblock is now a thing of the past. We can now look forward to the Royal Rumble, which is coming up in about 6 weeks. We have a little bit of time to rest without any pay-per-view events. We have the Christmas holiday coming up. Got your questions from twitter.com/AaronRift. So let's get started with the first one today, which comes from Dylan. Hey Aaron, what are your thoughts on Braun Strowman? I think he can be one of the top guys if WWE uses him right. I think that it's not a surprise to see Braun Strowman getting this monster push now. WWE finally going forward with it. You would think after all that time they invested in having him squashing all those guys that he would at some point get that big push. I mean, I look at it like he's a modern day Earthquake. So do I see him being one of the top guys? Probably not. I think he will likely play the same role as Earthquake, where he will feud with the top babyface, who is Roman Reigns. And after that, Reigns will be the victor in that feud, and Strowman will move down the card and feud with some of the other mid-card babyfaces, and that will be his run. That will be Braun Strowman's purpose. So if you think he's going to be like a Kane-type character, or even a Big Show-type character that is an upper mid-carder to a main eventer for several years, that I'm not so sure is going to happen. I don't see it in him yet. Now, maybe at some point I will see it, but right now I think that he is in his spot because he's been protected, and it hasn't been as much as his ability as it's been WWE just building up this guy as a monster. But can they keep the momentum? That's the question. How long can Braun Strowman be an effective force in WWE? I think a lot of that will have to do with the booking. If Strowman really had the talent and ability, then I think he could overcome some of the booking, but time will tell. I think he's untested. He is getting better in the ring, but I still think it's too early to say if he's going to be a major player for many years to come. This one comes from Braden. Do you think Roman Reigns will drop the US title before the Rumble? If yes, then to whom? I think he should. The whole idea of Roman Reigns being the US champion, it's really become an afterthought. I mean, at least when Cena was the US champion, he was defending it. He was doing the John Cena Open Challenge, and he was making a big deal out of the title. Roman Reigns has done nothing with the title. He's literally just coming out there with the title around his shoulder, and he's not defending it. I mean, I think he defended it once in the past month, and that's about it. He's not really doing anything with the US title, and I think that that is making the title seem like it serves no purpose. It's meaningless. I mean, at least before we were having regular title defenses, but now it's pretty much an afterthought. The title is just literally, like Vince Russo would say, it's a prop and nothing else. I think he should lose it before the Rumble and maybe lose it to Jericho. I think that would be a good option. There's always the possibility he could lose it to Strowman and then faces Strowman at WrestleMania for the title. They could do something like that. I'm not sure, but I do feel that he needs to drop the title before the Rumble. It's senseless for him to have the title right now if he's not going to defend it on a regular basis. This one comes from Push Pal. Neville's heel turn was quite unexpected, but was this the best heel turn of 2016? Your thoughts? I wouldn't say it was the best heel turn of the year because the crowd was cheering him when he turned heel. I thought his promo on Raw was pretty good, actually. I mean, all things considered, Neville isn't known as a promo guy, and I thought he did a pretty good job with the heel promo, trying to get the fans to boo him, tell the fans they could shove it, that sort of thing. I think that he's really trying to make this work, and it seems like he has a fire lit under his butt. He is finally on television again, which is good for Neville, and I think he's happy to be back, and he's going to go all the way with this, and this is something that the Cruiserweight division definitely needed. They needed something, some kind of momentum to get going and get people talking about it and get people excited about the cruiserweight division. So Neville, and the thing is, Neville can work as a heel in the cruiserweight division. I mean, I was never a fan of the idea of Neville being a heel when he's facing off against the heavyweights, and, you know, somebody like Neville is known for his flashy moves, but in the cruiserweight division, everyone is supposed to be doing the flashy moves, so it's not like Neville is at a level different from everyone else. He's at the same level as everyone else, so he can be a heel effectively in the cruiserweight division, in my opinion. I definitely feel this is the right move for him, and we'll see if he can get the ball rolling and get this cruiserweight division back on track. This one comes from Wreck-It Rudolph. What are your thoughts on New Day getting the Nikki Bella treatment, losing after just breaking the record? I wasn't a fan of it. I mean, I think WWE should have waited a little bit longer. I really don't like the idea of the same exact scenario playing out. Just like with Nikki Bella, she broke the record and then immediately lost it. It just goes to show that both times were done for political reasons. New Day held on to the titles for so long because WWE was hell-bent on breaking that record. And as soon as that record was broken, we have new champions, we have new titles, and you know what? I like Sheamus and Cesaro as the tag team champions, as this odd couple team. I mean, the act is hot. The fans are reacting to it, so it is a positive in that regard. But I would have rather seen that happen like in a month from now, maybe at the Royal Rumble, something like that. You know, ideally, I would have had the Revival beat the New Day, but if Sheamus and Cesaro were going to do it, I think WWE should have waited a little bit longer. It just felt like the whole thing was thrown together and rushed, and WWE just making the change as soon as the record was broken. So yeah, I wasn't really a big fan of that. This one comes from Boogeyman79. I thought the Iron Woman's match was awesome. I thought it stole the show. Your thoughts? I thought it was okay. I think that part of the problem was the crowd. They were dead for most of the match, and I wasn't a fan of the booking of Sasha Banks. I think she came off looking very weak as a babyface character. I mean, she tapped out not once, but twice. She tapped out with 2 seconds to go before the 30 minutes were up, and then she tapped again. I would have rather seen her pass out the second time. I mean, to have a babyface like that tap out twice, I think it's very damaging for her character. I would have rather they did something else than have her tap out twice. Sasha Banks, I'm not sure what's going on with her. I mean, she's definitely being pushed down now. She's going to be feuding with Nia Jax. This whole flip-flopping of the title, I have mixed feelings on. I know a lot of people don't like it. Some people feel it elevates the title, although I did the poll on NoDQ.com, and most feel it did not elevate the title. I do not feel that match stole the show. I thought it was a good match, but not a great match. And to be honest with you, I think the tag team match was better. I actually think the tag team match, New Day versus Sheamus and Cesaro, was the best match of the night and the most memorable match. Not just because of the quality of the match, but also the title change, as I mentioned earlier, and the crowd was into that match. So I would say that match, if anything, stole the show. This one comes from Banks Club. Even though many complain about the length of the Sasha and Charlotte rivalry, do you think people will miss it? That's the thing. I don't think this will be quite as memorable of a feud as some people are making it out to be. I mean, WWE on television, everyone's saying it's going to go down as the most memorable women's feud of all time. And WWE was really trying. They were trying to make it like The Rock and Triple H, or The Rock and Mankind, and make this some sort of historic feud, or John Cena versus Randy Orton. But I think they overdid it. I think they did too many title changes. And I think that the matches just weren't as good as I think people were hoping. I thought the Hell in a Cell match was a bit disappointing, and I thought the Iron Man match was a bit disappointing. I just don't feel they were quite as historic. And WWE, it was almost like forced history, you know, WWE just saying, we're making history, and they kept saying it over and over and over again, and the whole thing just felt very unorganic. So, in my opinion, it was just a little bit too forced, and didn't quite live up to the expectations that WWE was trying to make for it. This one comes from Lit Up. What do you think about the Wyatt family using the Freebird rule? Being used too often, an unfair advantage? I'm fine with the Wyatt family doing it since they're heels. With New Day, yeah, it didn't make a whole lot of sense for these babyface characters to be cheating like that. But when you're a heel faction, it makes more sense. And yeah, I do feel it's being overdone a bit, and that's another reason why I argue for WWE doing a trios title. If they're going to introduce any new titles, instead of doing a UK title or a European title or bringing back the hardcore title, which people keep asking, I would rather see them introduce a new title, do a trios title. And you have so many groups like that in WWE. You have a lot of trio groups, and you know, you could reunite the club, you could reunite the Shield, and you could do a whole bunch of different trios matches. I think it would be a nice, unique concept for WWE, unique in the sense we haven't seen it in WWE before. So I would do something like that. But yeah, I mean, as far as the Freebird rule goes, I think it's fine when you have a heel group like the Wyatt family doing it. This one comes from Simon Lee. Hey Aaron, what were your thoughts on Total Nonstop Deletion and the debut of Hornswoggle? Okay, so I was entertained by it. I mean, it was not a boring show. I was never bored watching it. I did watch the entire show. I'm using PlayStation View now, and they have Pop TV available, so I did check out the entire 2 hours of Impact Wrestling, or should I say Total Nonstop Deletion. Yeah, I mean, it was entertaining. It was sad at the same time, though. I mean, this company has fallen so far, and to see 10 people in this crowd, and yeah, I mean, obviously they're doing it at the Hardy compound, and they're all extras, but just the whole thing, it felt like a bunch of college students had some money and decided to just do this outlandish artistic project, and you know, it was creative. I mean, I give them creative points. It was very creative, it was entertaining, but this is not something that I feel can work on a regular basis, and you know, it's impossible to suspend disbelief. I mean, you watch that, and you know, when you watch wrestling, at least for me, I like to be able to suspend disbelief. I mean, even when you're watching these cartoon-like characters in action, you still want to believe what you're watching is real. I mean, if you watch a superhero movie, you want to be able to get into the moment, and even though these are characters with supernatural powers, you still want to believe it's real. You know, with solid writing and convincing storytelling, you are able to believe it's real. With the Total Nonstop Deletion, I mean, it's just so over the top. There's no point where I can say, all right, this could possibly be real. I mean, you have King Maxwell out there, and you have the drone coming out and getting involved in matches, and the referee trying to prevent the drone from counting a pinfall. And yeah, you had Hornswoggle debut, and that was pretty disappointing. I mean, they were teasing all these potential names showing up, and the best they could get was the Express that rocks and rolls, and then Animal, Road Warrior Animal, and then Hornswoggle. So that was the best they could get for this. So yeah, it was a bit sad. It was entertaining, but kind of pathetic in a way as well. This one comes from Matt Olette Music. Should more heels follow Owen's example and not be afraid of the backlash that comes with making 7-year-olds and Noah Danish cry? I think the heels should not be afraid to be heels. Let them insult little kids. Make the little kids cry. I mean, come on now. Has the world gotten so politically correct now that nobody can say anything offensive? I think that people like Kevin Owens should be able to say a lot of things. I mean, I remember just a couple years ago, CM Punk was yelling at this fan, telling the fan he had a vagina. I want to hear more of that stuff. I mean, imagine the 80s wrestlers trying to succeed in today's world. I mean, they wouldn't. We wouldn't have some of those great heels of the 1980s if the world was very politically correct in the 80s like it is today. I mean, in the 80s, they got away with so much stuff. They could use racial slurs, homophobic slurs, and, it's all done for entertainment, and they're playing characters. They're playing villains. They're bad guys. They're not role models. You don't look up to them. And with the heels, the idea is to make the heels hated, and you want to see the good guys beat them up. I mean, that is classic professional wrestling. And that's part of the problem with today's WWE. The heels suck. The heels are getting cheered, and the good guys are getting booed. It's just completely ass backwards, and there's no good heels in today's modern era. I mean, Owens is trying his best, and he's great at trash talking, but he's still, I feel like he still has handcuffs. And even when he yells at a kid, telling the kid to never wear his t-shirt, I mean, people are getting upset about that. I mean, come on now. This is pro wrestling. I want to see a good old-fashioned heel that will burn the American flag and do controversial things to get people to boo him. I mean, like Muhammad Hassan. I mean, that was a great character. And I want to see more of that. I want to see the envelope being pushed with the heel characters, where the heel characters are doing really evil, villainous things, and you want to see the good guys kick their ass. That's what I want to see. This one comes from Callum. Hey Aaron, CM Punk versus Steve Austin or John Cena versus Steve Austin, and explain why. I think CM Punk versus Steve Austin would be a better match in the ring, technically, but I think in terms of star power and drawing to a mainstream audience, I think Austin and John Cena would have a better dynamic. So I would probably, I mean, if it was me, if I was running the company and I had the money but I could only pick one, I would go with Cena versus Austin. I mean, that would be the bigger box office attraction. But Punk and Austin, I think their promos would be awesome. With Cena, it would be the usual thing. Cena's going to go out there and, say he loves this business, he's passionate, he's always there, he never gives up, yada, yada, yada. With Punk, him and Austin are both anti-authority-like characters, so it would be interesting to see the promos back and forth and see how the crowd would react if it would be a 50-50 reaction. If it was Austin and Cena, it would be, fans cheering Austin, booing Cena. It would be very predictable in that sense. With Austin and Punk, it would be a little bit more unpredictable, but I think I would still go with Austin versus Cena. This next one comes from Paul Bessman. Cena versus Punk or Cena versus Edge? Which feud did you enjoy and why? I believe Edge was so important to Cena's growth. That is a tough one. I mean, John Cena versus CM Punk at Money in the Bank was one of the best matches in WWE history. So that right there, some would say, puts that ahead of everything else. And the CM Punk pipe bomb, I mean, I never had website traffic like that, better than when CM Punk did that pipe bomb and then that Money in the Bank match. I mean, that generated so much interest. But on the other hand, Edge and Cena, they had a lot of classics. I mean, you had that Money in the Bank cash-in, which was huge. You had the Unforgiven TLC match, which was awesome. And they had a lot of great matches against each other. So I think in terms of the longevity, I would go with Cena versus Edge. They had a longer feud. The Punk and Cena thing was pretty much just the Money in the Bank and then the SummerSlam pay-per-view, and that was it. And, they had another match a few years later, and they had a match about a year before that when Cena was saying CM sucks, and, Punk was doing the whole Nexus thing. But in terms of just a long-term feud going back and forth, I think you would have to go with Cena versus Edge. This one comes from Daniel Lynch. Sheamus had won the Money in the Bank, Royal Rumble, World Heavyweight Championship, U.S. Championship, and Tag Team belts. Future Hall of Famer, and is he underrated? I think people are a little bit harsh on him. I mean, I would like to compare him to the Big Show, a guy who has been there and done a lot of things. He's been around, and the crowds don't really seem to like the guy that much. Sheamus has accomplished a lot in WWE. He's not the best wrestler. He's not the most charismatic. He's not the biggest guy. He is a good size though. So he's not the best in any one category, but he's very solid all around. I mean, when you look at guys that are good in every category, I mean, Sheamus definitely falls into that realm. I think the problem is his look right now. I mean, I wasn't a fan of how he looked when he came back, and the crowd instantly rejected it, chanting "You look stupid," and I think that hurt him. I mean, I think that hurt his credibility. Coming back with that look, he should have just stuck with what he had before, or just do something not quite as silly. I mean, yeah, it's good to look different and unique, and I give that credit to Sheamus because he does stand out from some of the other guys, and he's made himself stand out, which is something you have to do. But at the same time, I think that look just wasn't working for him, and he needed to change things up. But beyond that, yeah, I think he does deserve recognition for what he's done in WWE for sure. That'll do it for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, please share it with a friend on YouTube, share it on Facebook, Twitter, any other website, any site you go on, any fans have them check out NoDQ&A video. And stay tuned for more. I will be back later this week with another edition. See you next time.